Welcome to the Industry of Things World 2015 here in Berlin. It's my pleasure to be here with our chairman, Jeremy Geelan. Hi, Jeremy.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you for being here with us at the moment, and of course for all your support in the last month and during the last 2 days. What are the key takeaways that are shaping the future of the industrial internet?
Well, there's two things, isn't there? There are the takeaways from the conference, and then there's actually, it's two ways. The industry is taking from the audience. That's one of the things that I would like to emphasize. So anyone who's been here, particularly anyone who hasn't, needs to know that at a conference like this, it is really a two-way street. You've got some very, very highly placed people in companies that either deal with software or realizing they are now going to have to be dealing with software. And you've got obviously vendors and you've got expert speakers. And for me, to see that melding is like the space shuttle docking thing. It's very delicate. So the takeaways are that you still do need to listen to people in lines of business who say, no, we really are not ready. So a lot of the presentations have been what I would call slightly defensive, along the lines of, just in case you've got the slightest thought of not paying attention, let me remind you now, what do we have an example this morning? Obviously, Kodak. If you want to avoid being Kodak, please listen. It's a lovely pitch, but you then have to come up with why. Listen, and we've had these myriad examples of industries that have gone in, I think, exciting ways. So that was the main payoff, the main takeaway from this conference, is that there are many industries that are simply implementing IoT, and particularly the industrial internet. There are sensors everywhere, and they are using the data. Otherwise, why would they be placing sensors everywhere? I think that's a good takeaway.
Oh, absolutely.
And the main one, actually.
Let's have a little look into the future. Which IoT technologies will have the biggest impact in the coming years?
Well, again, if you use the conference as the prism through which to look at that answer, I can see leaning forward whenever there's a medical application, because there's this sense of avoiding disaster or improving the present, which is a great meme for modernity, right? We're going to make it even better. So connected healthcare has obviously piqued people's interest. Connected driving, autonomous vehicles, I've witnessed almost the opposite effect. There was one lovely slide of, if you had enough sensors on every car and if you churned the data in near real time, instead of having traffic lights, junctions would just flow without accidents. And I turned to look at people's eyes and I could see them going, they just looked in horror. So it's terribly interesting. We all think that automotive is this huge vertical, and it is, but the barriers to progress there are astronomical. So that was something of a revelation for me. And of course, as we're going to end the conference with just realizing how cranes are changed. We also had Volvo, how simply digging is changed when you have sensors. So these are some of the things that I just think people will go away, not starry-eyed, but just clearer. And my goodness, my vertical is also going to be subject to that kind of change. Sensors do change everything.
What do you think are the threats that we will see?
Let's not say threats, let's say concerns. So we had this marvelous, thought-provoking evening keynote yesterday from Martin Ford, author and futurist and thoughtful man who deeply believes that the IoT, like all technology, will deprive us of jobs. And he had his statistics, and they were interesting, and they were also global. I was thinking it's very North American, but they were some global thing. All well and good. But on the other hand, we have, again, these examples of industries that are employing, 50,000, 60,000 people, and their IoT divisions are the most growthful of all. And that does mean employees, and it does mean, so I slightly refute some of his pessimism. The other aspect, though, which he never mentioned, which is certainly here at the conference, is privacy. Now, there's a real concern. Privacy, which the young simply trade for nothing. We, in the more cagey generation, trade for something, or we should be trading for something. And as that increases, it really is going to be, so hang on, I get it. I can have a free TV if you can watch, how I scan and how I emote. Yeah, no, maybe not. I don't like that idea, but at least we're talking about it. Yeah. And the young have got to learn that transaction with IoT. So, they put on their Fitbit, and then we start to say, we're going to send you vitamin ads because you're looking a little peaky to our stats. The young haven't understood that yet. They're going to, because, what if they're, it's a more indiscreet ailment, and their girlfriend sees that, well, why are you getting these HIV alerts? That hasn't yet happened. It's going to, and then people will dial back and go, okay, I won't just agree to terms and conditions anymore without looking. So there's a huge education thing, but that's the consumer side.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's all these issues have been covered here. Next year will be even more interesting to see where the various players are, the companies, and of course the end users. It really is the most endlessly fascinating development.
So we might need to work on our IoT competence from a consumer point of view.
There are things we have to learn.
The Industry of Things world is soon going to wrap up. What do you think of the event format, mixing end user, case studies, interactive sessions? I mean, you referred to great sessions so far, but...
Brilliant comes to mind. So I've been spending, at the lunch breaks, I'm not a great eater, so I spend my most time talking to delegates, and all I can see is shining eyes and examples of, they're saying, yeah, no, I met this, I had no idea. And that's coming from both sides. So we've got the end users and we've got the vendors. I've seen, obviously, enormous numbers of personal conversations and cards, switching, and all the things that you want. So really, for a variegated event, I think this is something quite special.
What outcomes and benefits will you bring home from the exchange with participating companies?
For me, it merely reinforces my enthusiasm to make sure that companies understand that there will always be a gap between where they are and where the rest of us are. We had a wonderful keynote from IBM Research, Moshe Rappaport, who literally lives in his job 10 years ahead of you and me. Yeah. And that's wonderful for him, and he's a fantastic advocate of the future, and here are the possibilities. But sometimes there is this disconnect. And men like him, people like him, are ahead of the rest of us, and they just need to help educate us. So all I'm left with is that feeling that both users and vendors need nuanced, intelligent conferences, and this is what this is, above all. Industry of Things world. It's a beautiful creation.
Jeremy, thank you so much for coming here, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.